Hi, this is Randomness with 5 Cups of Sugar, and today I'll be doing a review for the light novel, The Dark Maidens. So, The Dark Maidens is a murder mystery novel, and it centers around Itsumi, who's on the left here, who is mysteriously murdered a week ago at the St. Mary's Academy for Girls, which is a prestigious religious school, which is an all-girls academy, where mainly the elite and rich go to attend school, except one of the students is a scholarship student. So Itsumi is the president of the literature club, which is really well-known club. It has its own salon, which was built specifically for Itsumi, since her father is the basically the person who owns the school and the principal too. So he spoils her rotten and builds this salon for her, in which she revives the literature club since it was closed a few years before she arrived in high school. And we look into the club a week after her death, and each member is asked to write a short story about the events that led up to Itsumi's death, as well as who they suspect is the killer. So what happens in this book is that we have different characters, but it's actually put together in a weird format. So here's like the meeting program. So what happens is that each chapter is a different short story. So except the first and last chapters is the opening and closing remarks by Sayuri Sumikawa, which is seen here on the right. And she is the vice president and was Itsumi's best friend. So these ones could get a bit confusing if you don't really know what's happening, but basically you're only hearing what Sayuri is saying. You don't actually hear anyone else. So even though it's not in quotation marks, it's Sayuri talking, which can get a bit confusing. The rest of them are the short stories by each of the members of the club. And so it is quite intriguing, and I was having a little bit of difficulty picking out who is the one who murdered her. But then as things went along, I kind of got suspicious. Just because there's some stories not really told. I'm not going to spoil it for you, but I started having an inkling, maybe in the second story or so, that something was off. And it wasn't the stories themselves that were off for me. But yeah, so there's also a character list, which I kept forgetting about. I mean, I'd like if they showed what the other girls look like too, because there is a picture that shows all of them together. I think it was like right here. Yeah, but I don't actually know who's who, except the one who likes to bake has the cake. And I already knew Sayuri and Itsumi. So Sayuri is down here, Itsumi is in the center, and then the girl who bakes is obviously the one with the cake. I don't know who everyone else is. Other than I think that's Diana with the book next to Itsumi with the dark hair. This is the back cover, and it is $14.95 in the US, $17.95 in Canada, and the flower on the top is called the Lily of the Valley. So, what would I rate The Dark Maidens? I would rate it a 10 out of 10. Honestly, I was extremely intrigued. One of the chapters for the short stories really freaked me out because it was supernatural stuff, and I tend to get freaked out about that. But the rest of the ones were kind of tame, just thriller. except the last 2 chapters freaked me out just because there's more psychological thriller, because that's when you actually figure out what the heck happened. And honestly, I was pretty surprised. My inklings of guesses earlier, the person I was suspicious in ended up being correct. But it still was a twist nonetheless, because I didn't know that that person would go that far. But yeah, so 10 out of 10, definitely recommend. I don't really do murder mysteries very often, because usually I just get annoyed. But I saw this on the shelf, and I was like, wow. I was just intrigued by the spine of the book, honestly. Like, this caught my eye. And then when I saw the cover, I was like, wow, the artwork is really pretty and it looks kind of ominous. And then, like, how ominous it looked, and the back cover, I was kind of intrigued. I was like, I really hope this is different, because it did claim that it was basically a portrayal of the alliances, treacheries, and invisible tensions between friends and frenemies. The Dark Maidens keep readers guessing, and shows that what is sweet can just as easily be as poisonous. Yeah, so I was like, that sounds different than other murder mysteries. And I was like, yeah, I'll go for it. And honestly, I'm really happy I did. If you read the last 2 pages of it, you really have to understand that it's a metaphor for something that the culprit actually did. So you'll get it if you read it, but like, you've got to take the metaphor partly as a metaphor, but also partly literally. And that part, I think, was the part that terrified me the most, was like the last couple pages. Because if you read into the analogy that the culprit makes, you realize that is terrifyingly unethical. And what that person did really went and crossed a lot of boundaries for what makes humans civilized in our world today. So like, what is considered as humanity, what is morally right and wrong, has been crossed. I thought that maybe this would be a bit innocent because it's in a high school. It is not innocent at all. I'm honestly surprised that I found this in the teen section for teen manga. For this light novel, I'm honestly surprised, because the last 2 pages especially warrant a lot higher for an age restriction. I think it would have been adult, but obviously there's no like nudity because it's a light novel, so it's just words. But there are insinuations of sexual relations, if you're not into that for books. I mean, it just says they did it, but nothing else. I also like how Diana's story, she's the one who's from Bulgaria. She's the international student, if you read this later on. But I like how she said that she was basically in love with Itsumi. Oh, and this is nothing related to my previous comment, by the way. But yeah, so I kind of liked the little bit of Yuri into it. That is not a major part of the story, by the way. That's why I didn't expect it, because this is not a Yuri. This is a murder mystery, like straight up. Okay, yeah, so if you like this video, please like and subscribe. Definitely try this out. It had me intrigued. It was one of the books that I couldn't put down, which takes a lot for me, because usually I only watch them, or sorry, not watch them. In my head, it becomes a story, but I only read them when I'm trying to go to bed. But this one spurred me to read in the mornings when I got up and between my studying sessions. So that just shows how good it was. Anyways, bye.